Welcome back, geometry students, to part 2 of this Kuta worksheet tutorial. We're doing SSS and SAS congruence. We went over a lot of SAS stuff, problems I should say, in the first part of this video. That was 1 through 4. They were all SAS styled problems. So if you want to check that out and see what that's all about, see the first part of this video. This video we're going to kind of concentrate on the latter half of this first page, which is mostly SSS. So I'm going to try to cover some SSS problems here. Maybe we'll go into part 2 of this and show you how it's done. But this is part 2 of this video with an emphasis on SSS, at least initially. So we'll start with number 5. Number 5, we have here 2 triangles, and we first want to identify the triangles. So we're going to highlight one in purple, one in green. Now what we're going to do is we're going to highlight the parts that we have that are congruent. So we have a congruent segment here and here for both triangles. Okay, one line, one line. Then we have a two line, okay, and we can mark it. And then it looks like that's it. But again, remember, anytime that they share a side, that's going to be the third congruent side or the another congruent side, and we can label that S for this one and S for that one. Now, SSS is pretty easy to recognize because you see 3 S's on the triangle. There's only 3 sides. If there's 3 S's, that means we have SSS for this triangle, SSS for this triangle. So therefore, they are congruent because of side, side, side congruence. So that's how you do that one. And if you want to see, like we talked about how we go from, we start at like an empty spot. Well, there's no empty spot. The only thing that we don't have are the angles. Okay, and that's okay. We can just start at any of the S's because it's all the same letter. So we start at one of the S's, okay, and we can either go clockwise or counterclockwise. In this case, I'm going counterclockwise. And you can skip one thing. You can either skip one angle or one side. Remember, you can't skip an angle and a side. Okay, so we can skip one angle, that's fine, and we arrive at an S. We skip an angle, we arrive at a side, that's an S. So we have S, S, S. And we have the same thing for the purple triangle also. Number 6 is almost identical to this guy. It's just a mirrored, and that's okay if it's mirrored. So we're going to draw our triangles first. We got the green, we got the purple, okay? We have a 3-liner, we have a 3-liner, we have a 2-liner, 2-liner, and then we have a shared side there, okay? So this one is clearly S, 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 because they're all shared. This is SSS congruence. Okay, so pretty simple with SSS in my opinion. Okay, we're going to check this one out. We need to make sure it's in the right order. So we have side, we have a side, we have another side, we have another side, we have a third side, and we have a third side. So we have S, S, S. This S matches that S, then we have that S and that S, and this S. Sorry, I need to pronounce it a little bit more carefully. S. So we have this S and this S. Oh, there you go. So that's another side, side, side congruence. All right, what's up next? I guess we can do one of these ones, even though these are not side, side, side. Number 10 is a classic example of side, angle, side, because we have a side, an angle in between, and then another side. So we have a side, an angle in between, and another side. Okay, and they match each other. The 3 matches a 3. We have an angle, and that angle is the same, and then we have a second side matches. So that's side, angle, side. That one's a pretty easy one. This one we have a shared side, but this looks like another side, angle, side one. This one, okay, this one's a trick. So let's do this one real fast. So we have a side, we have a side, we have an angle, and then we have a shared side. Let me do that in yellow. Okay, so we're going to label this here. We have side oh, I should have done the triangles first. Let's do the green triangle on top, and then we have purple on the bottom. Okay, so then we have side, we have an angle, and we have a shared side here. So that would be side, angle, side. We don't skip more than 2 things. We don't skip anything, actually. We have side, angle, side for the green triangle. Okay, well, for the purple, this is different. If we start at the 1 here for the green one, let's start here. And then we go to the next angle. Notice how if we go into the next angle like we did in the top one, we skip an angle and we skip a side to get there. That's no good, okay? So we can't go that direction. So we end up having to go the other direction, which is we go to side, We skip an angle, that's okay. We get to a side, and then we get to an angle. So that's side, side, angle. This is side, angle, side. These do not match. They're not congruent. Okay, so those ones, number 9 is not congruent. Okay, this part is actually kind of cool. It states what additional information is required in order to know the triangles are congruent for the reason given. So if we want side, angle, side here, we need to make sure that we have an angle and a side in addition to the information it gives us. We already have, let's make our triangle, so we have the purple and the green. We already have one side given. Let me make this, I'm going to make it go blue here. We have already one side given, so we have to make sure either it's like this, okay, like that, because the angle is sandwiched in between the two congruent sides. But the easier thing to do is to use what's already established. So notice here, you should recognize that we have a vertical angle situation. So those are vertical angles. So let's go ahead and use that. We only should have to add one thing to each of these triangles for all these problems here. So let's go ahead and, because those vertical angles are already established, we just need to add these two lines. And it has to be in those spots. Why? Because we have a side, we have an angle, and a side. The two sides must sandwich the angle. The two sides must form the angle together. So the two sides are the two sides of the angle. Same thing with here. For the green one, it has to be the case, and it is. So that's what we need to add. What we have to add, there's a lot going on here. I'll erase everything except what you need to add. Okay, so if you were to do this problem, you would just need this to add those two lines there to make it side, angle, side, because of the vertical angles. So side, angle, side here, you'll notice that we already have two sides, so we just need a third, or not a third given, I guess. We need the angle in between the two sides. So it has to be in between the two sides, just like that. Side, angle, side. Okay, and the reason why you don't, just as a side note, if you wanted to label this, you wouldn't start A, S, and then skip this, skip that, and get to the S. It wouldn't be ASS. Okay, number 1, don't spell that word. Number 2, you can't skip more than one thing when you're labeling. So that's side, angle, side. Okay, SSS here, the key to this problem is recognizing that it's a shared side, so that's one that you don't need to label. It's already done for you. So then we just need the last remaining side, which is this one. So really all you need to do for this problem is label that. Side, side, side here, again, same deal. We just need the last side to be congruent, so we just make a line for the last side. SSS is the easiest. So it's number 16, we have another SSS. We just need to make that side congruent because it's not reflexive already. Here we have side, angle, side. We need the two sides, congruent sides, to form the angle. This one's already starting to form the angle, so we just need to get this other side to help form that angle. So let's make it 2 here. That would mean a 2 here, so it also does the same thing, forming the angle on that side. Side, whoops, side, angle, side. Here we have SAS. Okay, the key to this is we recognize that it already has the reflexive side already in place, so we just need an angle to be sandwiched in between. Now, just because I put a gap there, it still means these angles are congruent. We're looking at the number of lines, not that they're touching each other. Otherwise, if you put it like this, sometimes it makes it look like one big angle. So I always stagger it a little bit. So don't be afraid that that's not congruent. It is. Because then we have side, angle, and then side. And the same thing with the other triangle. And then we have side, angle, side here because we have vertical angles. And then we just need one more here. So then we're done with that one. I think you also have to label the triangles are congruent for, okay, state what additional information is required to know what the triangles are congruent for the reason given. So, I mean, if you want, we can also label the triangles that are congruent. And I'll just do this for one so you get the idea because I really want this video to be short. So we have, if we wanted to start here, we can start anywhere we're labeling the triangles. Like, for example, we could call this triangle IHJ. So we started with the given angle, okay, the vertical angle. We traveled up the one congruent side, and then we came down the long side, and then ended with the short side. IHJ is going to be congruent. We have to start in the same order. Okay, so if your teacher's requiring you label the triangles also, make sure you label in the same order. So we need to start with I again, because that's the vertical angle. We traveled up this one side, so that's this side right here, the G. And then we end on the long side, which is E, and then that would be congruent. So make sure you guys are following in the same order with the same angles and the same measures if you are responsible for writing the letters. So that's all I got for today. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you learned something, and I hope to see you next time on West Explains Best.